so much for coming. We're going to be getting started in about 5 to 6 minutes here. Andrew is so excited to speak with all of you. Thanks again.
Wait, Casey.
why we are here. If you're new or even not so new, I'm asking you to get checked in now with your local Grassroots. As you also know, is the Yang Gang. Tonight and the days to come are a checkpoint. It is a starting point for all of you to get plugged in because we have real work to do. We have coalitions to build. We have UBI candidates to support, two of which are going to be here with us this evening. We have our local communities to reach out to, and there's other organizations that are doing good work for us to partner with to really begin mainstreaming the ideas and policies we all support and believe in. So get your name on the list of your state. And if your state isn't formed, now's the time to start forming. We build a movement by talking to and engaging with people outside of our spaces. And to do that, we need to meet with them where they are. And what that means is that we need to be open to learning and engaging differently with people out there. So in doing this very important work, we become master organizers, and nothing excites me more. So let's get focused. This is how we move forward. The fact is, we are a real movement that has the solutions needed for our society's problems, and the time is now. If you don't know how or where to get connected, I'm going to tell you. You go to movehumanityforward.com/volunteer, and there you can sign up. You click the big button that says sign up. Be sure you select, when you're going through the sign up, join or start a local chapter under the interests section. So be sure we will help you get connected to your local chapter. So without further ado, it's kind of amazing that a year ago is when I first heard of Andrew Yang. A year ago. I can't believe it's been a year already. So I am just so excited and honored that I have this privilege to introduce to you tonight, the man of the hour, my forever president, Mr. Andrew Yang.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Eric, you look fantastic. You have such an awesome backdrop, too. I'm seeing all of the people in the chat, the attendees. I think we've got a couple hundred, 231 here, and then some other folks on YouTube. But so many familiar names and faces. You know, people that came to Iowa, like Carolyn McCarthy, Eugene Wu, California, South Carolina. I could do this all night. Nancy DeLucia from Pennsylvania. So it's great to see everyone here. I feel like it's a bit of an impromptu Yang Gang reunion. Yang Gang is back. We're here. We have some incredible congressional candidates that I will get to shortly. So tonight, we're meant to, one, have a good time, but two, try and present a vision and a path forward for us, for Humanity Forward, for these candidates, for the movement. And I can't tell you how grateful I am to each and every person watching this and all the folks I met on the trail, where you got behind my campaign in a way that I never could have imagined possible. It was very, very much at the high end of what I thought we could become. And we became this movement, this vital, diverse, awesome movement that drew in people that had never cared about politics or had gotten fed up with politics or didn't think that we could solve our problems in a way that brought people together, that didn't say, look, it's this person's fault or it's that person's fault. It's like, where are we now? What can we do to actually move the country in a better direction? You all energize that movement. I can't tell you how thankful I am, how thankful Evelyn is. Evelyn's in the next room. This being the COVID, the COVID era. And so the question now is, what are we going to do? So I'm going to share a little bit of my reflection. I wrote something about early in the campaign when we were trying to get the attention in the media, where thanks to you all, we rose to a point where we won over a lot of people, certainly a lot of folks in the media and the DNC and the party, because of all of the energy and enthusiasm that you all generated. They were like, wow, like we really should dig into Andrew, this campaign, the ideas that he's presenting. And so we got this close. We raised tens of millions of dollars. We got hundreds of thousands of votes around the country, even now. It's very exciting. Thank you all again. But we didn't quite grow to a point where I could become the Democratic nominee. And that was deeply and bitterly disappointing, certainly for me at the time. But I said, okay, how now can we maximize our impact? How can we help translate this energy into a sustained long-term movement that helps enact our vision in the real world? So what did we do? Did a few things. Number one, we started this organization, Humanity Forward, which is demonstrating some of our ideas in real life. So thanks to many of the people here who donated, we've already contributed 7 million plus, close to 8 million in direct economic relief to struggling American families around the country. Because I always believe that if you can take action, that's the most powerful demonstration of your ideas. You can talk about it, you can do it. And I know you all feel the same way because so many of you volunteered and put your beliefs into action. I think that's what sets our movement apart, is that we act, we do. Like no one can say we don't live our values or walk the walk, because we demonstrate it in every way we can. So number one is economic relief, especially given how bad things are right now. Number two, what we're going to talk about tonight is helping candidates win that want to humanize our economy. And you're going to hear from two tremendous congressional candidates tonight who are so yang gang, and they both have to me historic history-making potential. And I'll go into that in some detail. But for these candidates and others around the country, I have to say, if there's something the Yang Gang can do that will strengthen our movement in an enormous way, it's to win these congressional races. We already demonstrated, thanks to Dr. Jermaine Johnson, I don't know if Jermaine's here, that we can win at the state level. Jermaine took on an incumbent state legislator who'd been there a while and beat him in a landslide. Like, the Yang Gang came in, and a lot of that's because Jermaine's an incredible human being, but a lot of that also was the Yang Gang. We came in and we energized that campaign, because the fact is, not that many people are paying attention to local races. You look at a state Senate race in New York or South Carolina, the Yang Gang can make a big difference very, very quickly. Now the test is, can we do that at a congressional level? And if you look at even movements that people pay a ton of attention to, like you're looking at 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 congressional races that they've won, really, in most cases. Winning a congressional race is a very, very big deal. And we have several opportunities to win races this cycle. You're going to hear from two of these candidates right now, but we already proved we can do it at the state level. If we can do it at the congressional level, then they will have no choice but to say, wow, this movement is here to stay. They're winning congressional races. They're members of Congress who are championing UBI and are full-on Yang Gang and know that they're in their office because we helped them win. That is the vision I want us all to fight for. That's the vision I'm fighting for. And I'm loving it because these people are so awesome, but also because these races are so winnable. They're much more winnable, frankly, than the presidential primary, because you don't need tens of millions and like hundreds of thousands. Like, if we get a couple hundred volunteers to pile into David Kim's race or to pile into Blair Walsingham's race, like, that's a huge deal. Even at these congressional races, not that many people are actually paying attention. And you'll hear from them about the margin they're talking about, but we're talking about, in some cases, like, get 8 to 10,000 more votes than the last person who ran in that district, which is very, very achievable. Super exciting. So number one, demonstrate our policies. Number two, help candidates win that are running on our vision. And then number three is helping Joe win. And I know that this is somewhat controversial, particularly given today's potential DNC snub and the rest of it. But I am 100% convinced that having Joe Biden in office is going to be much, much better for our movement and much, much better at getting some of our policies, including UBI, put into place sooner rather than later than Donald Trump. So I am all in for Joe Biden. I think he must be our next president. If he's our next president, we'll have a much, much easier time convincing him and Kamala and the rest of the administration to adopt universal basic income in places around the country. I just had an awesome conversation that you'll hear at some point with mayors for a guaranteed income. You're talking about 20 mayors from around the country who are already saying, we need to run pilots. This is the future. There's no way we can solve our problems without universal basic income. The movement is getting stronger and stronger. And to me, helping Joe win will help the movement. I'm all about just doing whatever we can to get universal basic income implemented across the finish line, humanize our economy, and accomplish the vision. And you may sometimes say like, oh, like the calculation, like I'm not sure I saw the calculation there, but that is always my calculation. And so number one, put it into place and demonstrate. Number two, help Donna and Blair and David and Nate and all the other candidates win. If we get some of them into Congress, that's going to be a political game changer because politicians respond first and foremost to politics. You know, it's like if they think that we can come in and tip the scale in their race, or in some cases even challenge them and beat them, then all of a sudden you'll hear them say, wow, universal basic income is a great idea. Like that's what they respond to, really. They're a bit weather vainy that way. We have to make it so that the wind all blows in this direction. And the best way to help the wind blow in that direction is to win a race or two or three or four and show them, look, going against this is not in your political interest. So I'm going to now introduce you to a couple of these candidates so that you can see why I'm so excited, why you should be excited. They have great opportunities to swing their districts. So I'm going to introduce them each in turn, and then they're going to say a few words. But the first one is Donna Imam. And Donna is, you're going to love her because she's so yang. She's an engineer, an entrepreneur in Austin, Texas, where she saw them automating away manufacturing jobs and said, wow, someone should do something about this. So she helped start a nonprofit that trained people in jobs of the future. This may sound familiar. You can tell me and Donna have a lot in common. And Donna's race is so fascinating. Where Donna won her primary, she already upset like the more established person in the Democratic lane. And the Republican incumbent is a 78-year-old man named John Carter III, who's been in Congress for like 18 or 20 years. And no one's been paying attention because it's Texas. And everyone's like, Texas, like, it'll be red forever. But Donna, being a math person, knows that John Carter won his race by 2.8% last time in 18, and 65,000 new people moved in to her district. And this is Austin, Texas, so you know it's going purple quick. And Donna can talk about how she increased turnout in her primary by over 200%, the margin of victory she needs to win. Her opponent is very, very beatable. John Carter III he's ripe, you know, in the sense that like some of these guys have that kind of expiration date going. John Carter III is very, very ripe for the picking. And Donna is going to be the person to beat him. And we're going to have a Yang Gang member of Congress who's going to be this national figure because she helped turn Texas blue. So let's welcome the next member of Congress from the great state of Texas, Donna Imam. Donna.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I really appreciate you having me on here. I hope you can all hear me. Yes, all right. So thanks for the great introduction. I love it. You know, I met Andrew Yang in early 2019, right here in Austin, Texas, when practically no one knew him. In fact, I told most of my friends about Andrew Yang for the very first time. And the way I know him is I am an avid listener of podcasts, including Freakonomics. And that's where I heard Andrew, and I got really excited. And I started telling my friends, like, you got to check Andrew out. He's got some amazing ideas. And one of the things that really sets Andrew apart is that he is the only presidential candidate, the only one out of all the 2020 presidential candidates that came in right before our runoff and endorsed our campaign. And what really amazed me about Andrew and his team is that they recognized what we were doing in our district, which he talked about, like, you know, beating out 11 other candidates when everybody thought, you know, someone like me cannot win this district, right? And of the 11 candidates, 3 of them had ran for office before. Some of them were elected officials. Some of them had ran district-wide. Yet in the runoff, we beat them by 13 points, not just a couple of points here and there, okay? So what we're doing here is we are going to our people in our district with solutions. And we're saying, look, this economic anxiety that not just people in my district, but people across the United States are facing, we need to address this economic anxiety. And what we talk about is, look, this is not just about the bottom 50% of our country. Even if you have a decent job today, let's say you have a 6-figure job and you start hitting your 40s and 50s, There are so many people who are afraid of not being employable, like they get laid off. Almost everyone has been laid off in their career at one point. And they are up against things like age discrimination and just not having the skills to fit into this future, which is changing so fast that they're not able to keep up with it. And we saw this even in the most affluent parts of Northwest Austin, in the suburbs, where I've been here for over 14 years. So I want to commend the Yang Gang and Andrew's team and Andrew for recognizing that we were talking about these bread and butter economic issues in our campaign, and that's how we were getting people out to vote. It's not that we were just going out and asking people to vote. We were actually addressing the challenges that they are facing on a day-to-day basis, whether it was because their income was so low, they didn't have health insurance at all, or whether they were in between jobs and they didn't have health insurance in the middle and they just couldn't even afford their COBRA payments, or they couldn't afford to cover their family while they were long-term unemployed. And I had been talking about real pay and thriving wages, and I've always been a fan of UBI because this is what UBI does, and I don't talk about this enough. But the most important thing that UBI does is it encourages things like entrepreneurship. You can't imagine how many people, if they had the ability to just pay for their basic needs, would go out and start that new company from their mom's garage, from their basements, if you're in the Midwest. That's what's going to happen in our country, and it's going to create amazing new jobs like the entrepreneurs in this country have. And there's a myth out there, and I know that you guys know about this myth, that somehow corporations and billionaires are the ones that makes jobs, and it's completely wrong. Entrepreneurs are the ones who are coming up with new ideas, and they're the ones who are the impetus for brand new jobs that we haven't even thought about. And I want to leave one last thing with you. You know, when you get the Nobel Prize or you get a big prize, one of the reasons they give you this $1 million is to take this economic anxiety out of the mind of that scientist or the poet or whoever that person is in whatever field they're working in, so that they can really focus in on their craft. And this is what UBI will do for our country. A lot of people like to talk about, oh, well, if you get UBI, people are going to be lazy and they're going to sit at home. You can't stop people from discovering things. You can't stop people from inventing things, and you can't stop people from working. And I can tell you this for a fact, because my mom, she could quit her job as a school teacher to raise her 4 children. And I don't know anybody who works as hard as she does every single day, experimenting in her garden, experimenting with plants. Why does she do this? Because she's passionate about the environment. She's passionate about discovering things. And that's the human spirit. So that's why I love this idea of the Yang Gang getting behind our campaign, but we need your help. So one of the things that Andrew said, we still need money. And our race is one of the most inexpensive and one of the most cost-effective races in the entire country. Our campaign has been able to reach the voter at 1/5 the price of almost any campaign that at least I've heard of. And we've done this very effectively, where we've been able to get out the vote. In fact, I'll give you a figure. We got 23,000 more people to come out and vote in a runoff in the middle of a pandemic when things were really bad in Texas, whereas the gap that we only need to close is 8,000 votes. So that's where we are, but we need your help. And I've already made this promise on video, by the way, that if we can raise $1 million in our race, it's one. We're not talking about hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars. We are just talking about $1 million. And I believe that we can do that. Texas's early voting has been moved up to October 13. We're running out of time. So if you can, please donate, because we're going to flip this district and we're going to flip Texas blue. So come join us.
Thank you, Donna. Let's give it up for Donna Imam. You can see why everyone's so excited about her. I'll tell you, that race, that you can see. So this is exactly the kind of race the Democrats have not been paying a lot of attention to. But and this is not, you know, hopefully people take this in a positive way. I believe like Donna could be an AOC type figure of the Yang Gang. You know, if you look at the juxtaposition between her opponent, John Carter III, like the near octogenarian who's like on his last legs, and then Donna, it really seems like the past against the future. You know, like Donna, imagine having Donna represent folks out of Texas. The people in Austin are super excited about it, and that's why she won that runoff against these other opponents. by a mile. And this is why if she gets the resources in place, she's going to win. It's going to be great. You know, that like this is a red to blue district. It's awesome. So that's one race I'm super excited about. Hopefully you can see why. What does Donna need? She needs money. She needs volunteers. She needs energy and support. So follow her, go to votefordonna.com, make a donation, tell your friends, volunteer, sign up, phone bank, text bank. When you reach out to people in Donna's district, they'll be very receptive. And I'm just as excited about this next candidate, Blair Walsingham. You might know her because she's been Yang Gang OG from early on. She's had like the blue hat and the Twitter handle for a long time. So Blair is a military vet and mom who moved to Tennessee not that long ago. And she was inspired by our campaign. She said, you know what? I can do more too. I'm better than this person, and her opponent, you could talk about it. Like she would make a much better representative for Eastern Tennessee than her opponent. Blair just stood up and said, you know what? Like I'm going to run for Congress. And then she won her primary, and now she's officially the Democratic candidate against a longtime incumbent in rural Tennessee. But she is exactly the kind of person you hope would run, a true public servant, military vet, mom who lives in rural Tennessee and says, you know, we can do better for us and our people. And the people in Tennessee, when they talk to Blair, when they see Blair, it's a similar thing to Donna, where they're like, wait a minute, you could represent us? We thought is just like that character who we don't really like, but you know, he seems like he's been there for a while. That's a dynamic that's happening around the country where like, who loves their member of Congress? A lot of people don't even know who their member of Congress is, you know, like, and if they get a real choice, like with Donna or Blair, then they'll take that choice. They'll be pumped about that choice. That's actually, I think, a very big theme of our campaign is to give people real humans to choose from, because people prefer humans to politicians. And so let's welcome a human being who's the Democratic nominee for Congress in Eastern Tennessee, proud Yang Ganger mom. And I got to say, if you look at her Twitter, she's like a Trekkie through and through. She actually says, is a Star Trek quote saying, know that we have to seek out abundance. Blair Walsingham, let's give it up for Blair.
Hey everybody, I'm so excited. And it's so funny you mentioned Star Trek, because if you love your post office, they have Star Trek stamps, you guys. Like go buy some stamps and support the post office. It's just ironic that I happen to have those on my desk with you mentioning that. So hi everyone, if you've never met me before, I'm Blair Walsingham, and I live in a very red, very rural, 1st District of East Tennessee. And we haven't seen a Democrat in office in almost 140 years. And that is no exaggeration. It has been red for so long. And it's very, very famous for our natural beauty, the Smoky Mountains, our beautiful waterways. But behind all of this phenomenal beauty is a massive amount of suffering. I see residents in my district that just seem absolutely defeated, and they believe that what they have, which is a lack of running water, electricity, subpar education, healthcare's closing, a healthcare monopoly, lack of opportunity and jobs, is what they deserve. It seems to be the norm, but I have greater confidence in what we can accomplish. And Andrew Yang was absolutely right when he said his campaign inspired me to run. It is so important to give people hope. And this false divide that we have been fed is just that. It is false. There's a better way of life, one where we can all work together and find common ground, improve our lives and society as a whole. More time to enjoy these beautiful mountains and our friends and families to make meaningful memories. This is our story, right? We get to define it. We are the narrators. We get to turn the page. And part of what I'm doing as the Democratic nominee is a UBI trial. So we're only able to do $500 a month for a year for 2 families right now. But if you guys can continue to donate and we can build this fund, we can expand this trial. But it's insanely exciting, and I'm happy to bring that to East Tennessee. So Andrew's endorsement was so meaningful to me. He spread this message that people belong in politics. And sure, I had thought about running before as, you know, a veteran, and I served my country, but I was held back by doubts, and my resume didn't look like a traditional politician's. And when I saw Andrew Yang and I listened to the words he spoke and how he treated his family, and he just walked the walk And it just really inspired me to say, this is who we need as a leader, is real peoples like us with our hearts just right on our sleeves and defining what politics should truly be, and that our representatives should actually truly represent us. So for me, Humanity Forward is Yang Gang, right? I love you guys so much. I've met the most incredible people through this campaign. When you're putting people first and foremost, you get this change in the way that you see dialogue happen, and this bipartisan messaging and these real hard conversations that we've been missing for so long, getting to the root of the problems and providing real solutions. So with that being said, like Donna mentioned, people following their passions. Passion equals success. When we are able to be free and confident to follow what we truly care about, we're going to see such an increase in happiness and healthiness in our society. And I've got something for you guys real quick, 2 seconds. I want you all to dust off your math hats, because the fact is no matter how far you are from Texas or from Tennessee or from South Carolina, wherever you are, we're all Tennessee. We are all in this together. And this divide that we are stuck in, these labels that we never asked for, we now get to play a role in saying no more and banding together, bringing unification. And I am asking for your support today. And we need you. This is a movement. It takes a team effort. And unfortunately, the politics side of it is expensive to reach voters, to make the contact, to buy the signs, everything. We need funds. And my GOP opponent is well-funded, self-funded by the millions already in this campaign, yet they have less than 20% of the vote. So this is a huge chance, not only for a Democrat to flip this seat, but also a woman. We've never had a woman win here either. Now it's down to 2 women. And I'm getting gains and gains of support daily. And with your help, we can truly flip this seat, you guys. I've never been more excited. So if you're able, go to blairforcongress.com, volunteer, donate. We can use you to text. We can use you for call banking. This is a phenomenal thing. And I'm so, so proud. Andrew Yang, thank you for pushing this movement to the edge, for including us, and for reminding people that we matter.
Hey, Blair. Wow, Blair, that's so awesome and inspiring. The math hat looks incredible on you. I'm so glad you had it. Really, doesn't it? Look at that. Wow, can you imagine Blair winning out of Tennessee too? That too would be an incredible national story. Blair would be a phenomenon, deservedly so, because she's an incredible human being. And so is Donna, the other candidates around the country. I love endorsing folks like Donna and Blair because they just deserve the support, and they're not getting enough of it, frankly. You know, there's a lot of institutional politicking going on, where like if you're not in a particular targeted district and you're not in good with folks in DC, then no one's fighting for you, no one's going to help you, and I think that's nonsense. You know, especially when you have people like Donna and Blair who are willing to step up. So if they're willing to step up for us, are we not willing to step up for them? Yes. So if you're watching this, make a donation, whatever you can support, to both of them. Pick between the 2 of them and volunteer. I'm kidding. Like, which of these 2 do I like better? But we have to act. And so if you look at the Yang Gang and see that we can help Donna win, we can help Blair win, we can help other candidates like them around the country win, we can make November an incredible celebration for us. Imagine sitting here a few short months from now and seeing the Donna Imam victory party, seeing the Blair Walsingham victory party, seeing the David Kim victory party, like around the country. You know, and if that happened, then all of the folks in DC and the media would have no choice but to take note and be like, wait, what just happened? Like, you know, they just did like the quote unquote impossible. I mean, this movement has done the impossible over and over and over again. And I've got news for you. We're just getting started. We're now going to go do the impossible in Austin, Texas, and East Tennessee and other places around the country. So that's where the movement is heading right now. I'm really loving it. I'm excited for it because it's so easy to champion folks like our candidates around the country. And if you like these candidates too, there are others that you can check out. You know, we could do this again and like have them all, like other candidates up, but like they're just really exceptional humans, and it's a joy to support them.
I am so in agreement with everything. Look, she made me pull out my math hat and put it on. Look at this. I was like, I have to contribute here to that. So we are doing a Q&A right now. Thank you so much to our two candidates that represented. Make sure you go out there and support them and donate. So we're doing Q&A. Don't forget to put something in there. If you have a question for Andrew, I'm going to feed them over to him. So the first question we have is from someone I'm pretty sure you're familiar with, Andrew. Heidi, Veterans for formerly Yang, but I think she goes by Veterans for Humanity now.
Sure, shift gear to humanity. I'm into it.
Aha. So Heidi's question is, a lot of the Yang Gang feels divided over whether or not supporting Joe Biden is the best route for the movement. This isn't a softball, is it? After today's event, where you were left out of the convention, what would you say to the Yang Gang who are worried about this and what it means?
No, I touched on it earlier, but we have to look at the choices in front of us and figure what's best for the movement. And to me, Joe Biden is a slam dunk as a much, much better choice for us and universal basic income and our ability to get these policies across the finish line than 4 more years of Donald Trump. I mean, all you got to do is look around and say, like, can we even take 4 more years of this? You know, like, we need to get Joe in and then start trying to pass some policies as quickly as possible to help right the ship, what we see around us. So, you know, we're still in talks with the DNC. We'll figure out what's going on there. But like, I'm frankly like unfazed by anything except helping Joe win and saying we need to help push the country in a better direction as soon as possible. Someone said it in the text too. They're like, I'm not even sure we can make it to January 21. That's like the right attitude. It's like, we just got to act right now and say, look, we've got a very, very straightforward choice. Joe Biden should be our next president. And if you make that choice, then again, it's not enough to say like, yeah, I feel that way. Like, we have to act. So I'm acting. I hope anyone watching this or supporting me will act too. We need to help Joe win.
Thank you. So we're going to ask another question here from Joshua Turner. How can we reform our voting, election system, and the current exclusive media coverage to ensure non-primary, third-party, and independent candidates can get fair media coverage and debate time, as well as allowing for some form of ranked choice voting?
I love this question so much. I am all in for ranked choice voting. I believe it's vital to the survival of our democracy at this point for some of the reasons you just cited. The fact is, right now, the dynamics of our politics do not reward problem solving. They reward catering to the folks who are going to participate in your primary, in your district. And our districts have been gerrymandered in a way so that you really don't have to cater to the broad center. You just cater to the folks who are going to show up to your primary, which is typically like 10 to 20% of the folks in the area. So that has to change. If we have any chance, we have to start trying to rebuild a genuine democracy that's much more politically dynamic, and ranked choice voting is a must. I'm going to fight for it at every level. The Democratic Party, I believe, is sincere. They passed this HR 1 that goes a fairly long distance toward at least some of the reforms we need. It doesn't have full-on ranked choice voting, but it does have a lot of other excellent things like matching donations for congressional elections and a bunch of other good stuff. So I love the question because I think democracy reform and ranked choice voting is core. I actually would put it now as my new, like, 1B after universal basic income and a human economy. It's democracy reform. And democracy reform is tied into media reform, because if you have more diverse candidates and people voting, then you just can't go in with your usual lens and just have this one party dynamic. The fact is, at this point, self-identified independents outnumber Democrats or Republicans, and that trend is increasing, not decreasing. You know, like right now it's 38% independents, 29% Dems, and 7 or 8% Republicans. But the trends are going towards more and more self-identified independents. So if you're a democracy and you look at this and say, okay, wait a minute, our political parties are representing a smaller and smaller proportion of people, like, you have to change that, or else people are going to get increasingly fed up, despondent, angry, and they're not going to think that anyone's representing them.
Yeah. And doesn't Massachusetts have ranked choice voting on their
On the
ballot?
ballot. So Massachusetts, ranked choice voting for every election in Mass. It's on the ballot in November. If you are in Massachusetts, let's make sure and pass that. But ranked choice voting is going to be one of our big causes over the next number of years. It's part of the society we have to build. I now see how the pieces are interlocked, and democracy reform has to be there because we're not going to solve the problems otherwise.
And I'm going to say that Texas is also working on ranked choice voting. So if you're in Texas, make sure you get connected with the Texas Yang Gang. It's really important that we support that. All right. So your next question is from Tora. And I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name. What's the best part about being a community advocate, and what advice would you give to young folks who have a passion for public service?
Oh, fantastic. Look at that. Someone wants to get into public service and organizing the community. What's the best part? The best part is that you get to try and see the best in other people and bring out the best in yourself. When people sense that you're actually trying to help them and that you're organizing them not for your own well-being, but because you genuinely want to improve their life, and you can actually establish that kind of trust, then it becomes really profound, because people don't often trust folks to look out for them. And when you are putting your best foot forward that way and you build that kind of bond, it uplifts you, it uplifts them. Like, that's the best part of being a community activist and organizer. And if you're young, then, it's great to get an early start. And plus you'll be much more savvy about it and be able to do things in like a more modern way than a lot of folks. So congratulations to you for trying to step up and do something positive in the community. The sky's the limit for you, and who knows, maybe you'll end up running for office like Donna and Blair at some point. Not to say that's like necessarily, we need it all. Like, it's not like that everything leads to running for office because it truly doesn't.
Okay, so we have a couple more questions, but I wanted to ask you, Andrew, when did you first get interested in politics as a young person? When did you first get interested into politics?
I always had an interest in it. I didn't think I was going to run. I made a list of life's goals, and one of them was to help another candidate. So that's actually, if you're looking at this, you can have that as an ambition. It's I'm going to help elevate another candidate, someone who's doing something positive. And I was super excited when Barack Obama won in 2008. I thought that was inspirational. And then during the Obama years, and I was ceremonial part of the Obama administration as an ambassador and some other things, and so I interacted with them. And then between 2008 and 2016, I started to become increasingly concerned, and then Trump won, and then I said, okay, I guess I have to get in there. But prior to Obama winning, I kept an intellectual tab on it, because I think it's important just to understand what's going on in your country. But I wasn't very heavy into politics. I did organize an event at a bar for a campaign, but it was half for the fun of it.
In a bar, I love it. That's so Gen X of you.
Well, thank you. Maybe you were there.
I might have been. No. All right. So don't keep sending in questions, folks. We need more questions. Okay. So Mike is asking, what's your ideal next move in politics? Mayoral run, governor, president? If you could wave a magic wand, what would be your ideal path forward?
So I try and make decisions based upon how we're going to accomplish our goals. So let's have universal basic income as the single biggest goal. So how can Andrew Yang maximize the rate of passage of universal basic income? And then those are the choices I'm going to make. So being mayor or governor could help for sure. It's a different route. I ran for president because I think this is a nation scale problem, and I genuinely think you need the national government to really implement it, just because of the fact that 40 out of the 50 states have balanced budget amendments, and if you're a city, you can have pilots, but you can't go too far, because then people will literally move to your city. And at this point, you have 20 mayors who are part of Mayors for a Guaranteed Income. So you have various city trials that are already happening. So that gives you a sense of, it's okay, there's that realm. And, I try to do doing good that's not just universal basic income. Yes, But universal basic income's the main North Star, the goal. So governor, it's a slightly different context. Being someone who is part of the Biden administration is a possibility as something that might be able to move the ball forward. And one advantage to that is that if you serve in the cabinet, then it facilitates anything you want to do in politics because you would know a lot of the folks, and then also that you would have that kind of experience under your belt. Plus, you'd hopefully get a lot done. So part of this is like I ran for office on these problems, and then if someone comes to me like Joe or Kamala and says, hey, we want your help in trying to solve these problems, you kind of have to like strongly consider it or say yes. Like you can't be like, here are the problems, I feel very passionately about solving them, and someone says, you want to help? And then you're like, no. that seems sort of lame. So those are some of the things we're considering, but it's all trying to maximize the rate of passage of universal basic income. And it could include another run for president because I think we'd have a much better sense as to how to go about it the next time.
Yeah. So speaking of the mayors for universal basic income, what was your initial reaction when you heard about that?
Of mayors for a guaranteed income?
Yeah.
I was pumped. I'm friends with Michael Tubbs. I'd heard that they were going to be getting up and running. I didn't know all of the other mayors who joined. But I knew some of them. And Michael said something to me that was funny. He says, we got the absolute best mayors. And I looked and laughed, but I was like, I think he's right. I think they kind of did get the best mayors. Like all the mayors I think are awesome are on that list. So if you have a mayor that you want to be on the list, you should just ping them and say, hey, get on that list. But having a critical mass of mayors who are championing universal basic income is incredibly powerful. So I was super excited, Erica. And, I applaud everyone who was a part of it, including Mayor Tubbs. Jack Dorsey gave them some of the financing for it. Economic Security Project financed the first Stockton trial. So there are a lot of people who are involved, and they did great work because that's going to be enormously powerful.
Yeah. It's very exciting. I'm really excited about all the prospects from that, being so local and everything. It's an opportunity for the grassroots to get involved deeply with mayors. Just make sure you ping your mayors to get.
Jermaine, you got Steve Benjamin, the mayor of Columbia, to join mayors for guaranteed income. That'd be incredible. Nice work, Jermaine. Yeah. Look at that. Now we can help him.
That's so true. That is so true. All right, let's get back to some questions here. Hey, you guys, if you want to let us know where you're located, that would be awesome as well. So Katie, she says, hi, Andrew. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. I'm a teacher in Denver public schools as well as a mom. I'm wondering about your take on schools reopening. I know you are a numbers guy. Do you have an idea in mind of what data would support schools reopening safely?
First, thank you for teaching our kids. We all certainly appreciate you all the more now. Teachers should be getting paid more based upon the work that you do. For reopening schools, I did a podcast on this with a woman named Emily Oster, who is studying the data. And I think Emily put it a particular way that made sense, is that in a lot of areas, just nothing should be open. And so if nothing should be open, then a school should certainly not be open. But if you were going to if you open other things, then the school should also be open, because the school is higher social utility than indoor dining or the bar or whatnot. And it's not just what it does for the kids. It's also the fact that a lot of parents are unable to go to their essential jobs or whatnot because they're the kids with them all day and they don't have adequate childcare. So to me, that's the measuring stick, is that is anything else open in this area? if nothing, and there are many parts of the country that should be in total lockdown, and that includes the schools. But if you're going to exert yourself to try and open something, schools would be very high on the list. Thank you again for teaching our kids. I've got 2 kids who are starting school in the fall, and it's a bit of a mystery, what that looks like, because I think a lot of school districts aren't sure what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a tough call. Next question is from Matthew Housley. I am on the autism spectrum. The education system has failed me. What will What will you do to transform the education system so that it works for all Americans?
Well, I'm very passionate about this, having a son who's in this situation, and resources can make a big difference. Like right now, schools don't have the resources to serve many of our kids' needs. And so to me, you draw up what the ideal would be for an autistic child showing up. Oftentimes it would be a lot of individual attention. Like, they don't thrive in a one-to-many classroom setting very often. But right now, if you go to a school district, they say, well, we can't afford it. And then to me, that's so asinine, because it's really, you can't afford not to do it. Because if you look at this person's development over time, like that's an easy investment to make. And if anything, at this point, we should be looking for more ways to employ people, given that we have this massive employment crisis. So that's where I would start, is just what does the child need? And because in many cases we know what they need, but then we say we don't have the resources to provide it, which is nonsense. We 100% have the resources to provide it. And we need to be doing much, much more for special needs kids around the country. It breaks my heart, because I've been to a lot of areas where parents are left on their own, and the investment would have paid for itself many times over.
Yeah, I do think that our school systems, they don't assist the children on the spectrum as much as they could, and I would love to see that change.
It is the new normal. There are so many kids like my son and you and others, so we need to stop treating it like it's special, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Massey, I believe, is from Texas. If this is the Massey, I think it is. Do you have any thoughts on media reform in the age of social media, so we focus less on fake news, sound bites, and outrage generating content for clicks?
I am so into this. I am actually right now digging into what the heck we can do. So you probably saw, I read this recent Twitter exchange where I echoed this MSNBC producer who quit and said, hey, our editorial choices are getting distorted by the fact that we need to get ratings all the time. And then I was like, yeah, it's not just MSNBC, it's all over the place. And to me, that's totally clear that you have a set of market incentives that drive journalism in a particular direction. And in the case of local papers, it drove them all out of business, which is a disaster. And then in the case of MSNBC, it drives them to a lot of Trump coverage, because that gets people ginned up and the rest of it. So I just pointed out, look, the market is distorting our journalism. And then some media types actually attacked me as being wrong or whatnot. And then I was like, are you kidding me? And then eventually I looked at it being like, look, you are supposed to actually tell the truth about things. Tell the truth about your own industry. We can all see that the market is driving you either out of business or to strange contortions that end up distorting the news we get. And it's all character driven and controversy driven. And then social media amplifies that. We are never going to make progress if this is the way we have our politics and news organized. So I have some very, very big ideas on how to reform that, but they're going to be enormous. So I'll start with the local papers, is that we just need to essentially put public money into them, because you have two things. It's philanthropy or public money for local journalism, and public money is the only one that makes sense. So I had one suggestion that will come up again and again, is we should just fund journalists for every congressional district, out of the federal government. It's just look, they're 4 members of Congress there. It's there should be 8 journalists just walking around doing things, and they could be knighted from within the community. They're paid for X years, be prestigious. Let's start putting public money to work for local journalism. At the high end with the media organizations, it gets trickier. But I think that there are things we can do to try and reward good journalism. One of the things you don't want to do is punish, because there's First Amendment. You don't want to be can't do that, can't say that. But you want to try and reward the folks who are trying to do it in a more responsible way. Certainly, I think the media is a big issue with it, where I think long form conversations are better. And so I'm imagining a world where, for example, if a cable news channel just had an hour sit down with someone and it was more like a podcast, then there was somehow an incentive for them to do that, even though it is quote unquote bad for ratings. I actually think it would be good for ratings. Personally, I'd like to test that out, because right now they're kind of trapped in a particular form of soundbite. So that there, but that, so I'm working on a plan because I think it's core. You guys might enjoy this because of who, you know, like, I'm essentially working on a new book that's like the sort of the plan for the future. And it's early days, like, but I've learned a lot over the last couple of years. So I'm trying to integrate some of my new learnings.
That just makes too much sense, Andrew. Just makes too much sense. Okay, so next question is from John, and keep sending in your questions. Is Kamala Harris a good VP pick?
I'm friends with Kamala, and I think she's going to be dynamite. She's going to be dynamite on the trail. She's very effective, very, very smart, and I think Joe knows exactly what the vice president needs to be, and it needs to be a partner for him. And to me, that was the major hurdle any VP prospect had to cross, is that Joe just liked and trusted and believed in them and was willing to partner with them for the next 4 years minimum. So Kamala's going to be great. And, I texted her, congratulations. She and I were debate neighbors several times. We saw each other on the trail like dozens of times. So I'm excited for this pick. And Kamala is going to be a huge asset, certainly in debating Pence and, helping Joe win.
So what do you think is exciting about her pick? That's actually a question from Roni. What do you think is exciting about her pick for Humanity Forward and for the Yang Gang?
For Humanity Forward, Kamala is one of the handful of senators who's on the $2,000 a month bill. And even when she was running, back in the old days of it being like, UBI too extreme, like she was for a $500 a month credit on the EITC that was actually kind of like a half a UBI. And that was in the old days. So she starts out at $500 a month back in the day. Now she's at $2,000 a month. That's a great pick for us too. that she's actually one of the primary senatorial champions of universal basic income, or a version thereof. It's kind of awesome. Kamala could sign this thing. Joe could sign this thing. I could sign this. Someone's signing it.
It's good to have her on the inside like that, I do think. So I'm just going to take 1 second to plug Humanity First Day on August 15th. We are all going to get together and pledge ourselves to our Humanity First values and do something specifically to help others in your community. It could be something as simple as picking up trash in the neighborhood or a park, just doing something for others, handing out food, helping at a food bank, anything that's humanity first. And one of the things that we're promoting is you could jump on and do some COVID call relief parties with us. We have a bunch of people that we still need to call and make sure we get their correct contact information. So if you want to just share.
Are you saying that they actually have money coming to them and that we just aren't able to get it to them? I mean, talk about being Santa Claus. Who doesn't want to do that? And I do want to give a shout out to Erica Rhodes, who's another person like Blair, who's like longtime Yang Gang, who's deciding to step up and run for Congress. So the reason we don't trumpet Erica all the time is that she's 2022. So we've got like, a little bit more time where Erica's concerned. Whereas Donna and Blair, like it's like go, because their race is like in a minute. But it is the same energy and humanity where Erica is just an awesome champion for the campaign and said, wait a minute, like I'm as smart and moral and capable and innovative as these characters, which totally is, like, more so, just like Donna and Blair. That's the great thing, is like if we believe in ourselves too, like, half of the people on this call would be better than did I say half? It's probably a higher proportion than that.
Probably. We are fortunate. Yang Gang is a great resource for running for Congress, for sure.
Well, and I want to just double down on this too. Yang Gang's a great resource for running for Congress. We need to be a great resource for winning. We need to help Donna and Blair and others win. And then people will be like, oh my gosh, success begets success. Let's win some races. Andrew Yang wants to fucking win some races in November.
Yes, I'm down with that. I'm with you. We want to win. So come out and support and phone bank. Humanity calls. We must make that happen.
We got to win. Yeah. That'd be the theme of this. Let's fucking win. That's like That's the theme.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to throw another question at you from Faraz. Hi, Andrew. As an Asian American myself, how can we help to get other Asian Americans energized about getting involved in politics?
Well, this is near and dear to my heart. I hope that my run would energize Asian Americans to run for office and vote and donate and volunteer in bigger numbers. And we just need to keep pushing in that direction. Like, you need to push folks in your community. If there are great Asian American candidates, Donna among them, that if we help win, then that makes others think, wow, like, we can run for office, we can win, we can vote and donate. So we need to lead by example. And if you have an awesome Asian American candidate, you have to champion them and get behind them, because it doesn't come along like every day. I mean, they're around, but when one comes around, you have to go hard. David Kim, that's another one. Thank you. David Kim's awesome. So Donna, David Kim, Marilyn Strickland, all awesome Asian American candidates. Suzanne Hugg, yes, another awesome Asian American Yang Gang candidate. Look at that. We just gave you a lot of work to do if you want to help Asian Americans.
Yes. That flows right into the next question I have from Suzanne Eden. What are the top 3 things we can do in the next 7 days to help?
The next 7 days, we should get behind some of these candidates because they're really in the thick of it. So sign up with a candidate or 2 or 3 that you want to help. They'll love to have you. And then you phone bank for them, text bank, donate however much, tell your friends about them. If you have friends in their district, they're like worth their weight in gold. It's a fun exercise. You can look up and be like, do I know someone? Do I know someone in Austin, Texas? Do I know someone in Jen Perlman's primary? So the next 7 days, it's true. Jen Perlman and Adam Christensen, their primaries are both next week. So if you know folks in their districts, this actually, I'm going to say this all to you. This is like this is, just me being real, because I think this is applicable. So you got excited about the campaign. Thank you. I was excited too. We went. And then it's like, oh, crushing disappointment. This sucks. Like, we're never going to be able to get the stuff done that we want to get done. But now these candidates give you a chance to get excited. Like last week, I was super excited for Marilyn's race, and then she won. And then this week, it's Adam Christensen and Jen Perlman in Florida. I'm super excited about that. And then shortly thereafter, Donna or Blair will be actually they won their primary, so they're fine for a while. But this is a chance for you to get excited about it again. It's so fun. I'm excited about something every week. I'm looking up being like, who's up this week? Who's up that week? Because we have primaries all the time. And then November, imagine again being in November when you're looking at these candidates' races and you volunteered, text bank, told your friends, it's going to be so exciting. You can give yourself something to be super excited about, people to be excited about. That was the joy of the campaign. And I have that joy again because of Donna and Blair and David and all these other great candidates. So if you want that too, it's awesome. It's fun.
Absolutely. And I can tell you directly that we are making an impact with our assistance to these candidates. When we phone back for them, things happen, their numbers are going up. We're making calls into their state. It's also quite rewarding when you get to talk to a voter and you actually realize that they're going to go vote in that state for that candidate. It's really rewarding. So I have one more question for you before we wrap it up. Anna, she wants to know, can you tell us about some state candidates at the state level that you're supporting? I think we need to grow our movement from the bottom up.
We've endorsed a number of state candidates. I think there might be even a couple more on the way. So Jermaine was on the call before. Jermaine won his primary, which means he's going to win. Suzanne Hugg is up in Arizona. She's running for a state senate, small business owner, mom, tremendous, hardcore Yang Gang. Jeremy Cooney won his primary, which means he's going to win. He ran for state senate in New York State. So there are a bunch of state candidates. There are others, Tony Vargas, Carlos Cardona in New Hampshire. So we have a bunch of state candidates that we've endorsed that are aligned with our vision, have the same goals, and would be awesome champions in their state legislatures. So go check them out. Yulene Yo is another, Ron Kim in New York. So the state races, I couldn't agree more, are really important. And I love the state races too, because they're really much easier to tip. Again, it's like no one's paying attention. So if we all piled in for Suzanne Hugg's race, like Suzanne's probably going to win, that's just the way it goes.
That's so true. That I think that's exactly what happened with Jermaine's campaign. That was so much fun watching that happen. I mean, he just
so much fun.
He cleaned up. It was so exciting. So yeah, so it's time to wrap things up, Andrew. What are your final words?
I just want to say thank you to you all. I love and appreciate each of you taking your time and energy, and most importantly, like your heart and soul and your belief, your spirit, and helping elevate our campaign. And even though we didn't accomplish our goal that, first time, we have an opportunity to accomplish incredible things moving forward. We just need to stay focused, stay practical and positive, and then see what races we can tip and flip. Because in the scheme of things, in terms of our movement, we're like just getting started, on our way. Like I ran suspended, and then COVID hits, and now like millions of reasonable people are looking up being like, wait a minute, like Andrew Yang was actually pretty freaking reasonable. Like that's like a very normal sentiment. I get it all the time. So, and a lot of mainstream media folks too are like, Andrew Yang was pretty reasonable. Like a lot of folks are waking up, and they would never have had the chance to wake up if not for you all helping wake them up. But we got to keep waking them up. Like at this point too, they're like half awake. You know what I mean? Like before they were sound asleep and you're poking them and they're just like, bah, like, don't bother me, I'm asleep. But now they're like half awake, and if you poke them, they'll actually wake up and be like, yeah, you're right. They're this close. So just got to go around, keep doing what we're doing. But in the scheme of things, this movement has been going like lightning, really, if you really think about it. Like no one had heard about Andrew Yang at all like 20 months ago or something like that. Like the fact that I actually have become a national figure and we have an opportunity to win these races is mind-boggling. And if we do win some of these races, then the momentum of the movement just like levels up again. So thank you all for giving us this chance. I appreciate you all so much. I can't express how you inspire and invigorate me. And let's take that inspiration and energy and put it to work. Put it to work for Donna, for Blair, for David, for a lot of other people, Suzanne, Jermaine. And then a couple of years, Erica, we'll apply energy to you too. But not a couple of years, like December or January, like after these races are over.
After November, we'll plug into Erica. That's so true. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I'm so happy that we all came together tonight and got engaged and reconnected with why we all were here in the first place. I mean, this is why we're here. We're here to promote the ideals and mainstream all the policies that we so believe in. And with a leader like Andrew, he makes it very easy for us. So let's
That's so kind, Erica. I'm lucky to have you. We can do this anytime. This was fun.
Yeah, I'm really loving this. I don't think I told you what my title is, but I'm Erica McLeod. I am the Organizing and Operations Director for Humanity Forward.
Yay!
So I'm the one who, I get to hang out with the Yang Gang all the time. That's basically what I get to do. And I'm just so grateful for that opportunity. So I want to make sure that you all know to go to movehumanityforward.com/volunteer and click that sign up button to get involved. We need you. We need all of you. We need you to.
We need you.
We definitely do. We need you to plug in and get connected with your local.
We need you to win.
States. Yes, we need to win. We need, what did you tell us one time, Andrew? We need at least 3.
I want 3 congressional victories minimum.
Yeah, so you heard it from him. That's what we got to do. So let's make it happen. I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the hard work that's already been put in. We are just plugging away, and we're going to make things happen going forward. I'm so excited. So
thank you all. Have a great night. Appreciate you all. Love you.
Night.
Go Donna.
All right.
Blair, and go Erica. Yay.
All right. See you
Bye,
guys
everyone.
on the other side. Good night.